Alright, everybody, welcome back to the one-shot speedrun tutorials. This is the second major area of the game. This is the Glen. Last time we went through the tutorial area, the introduction area, the prologue. Enter more words that you think fit, as well as the first major area of the Barrens. And as soon as you exit the Barrens, you're left right here, where I am right now. So, nothing to do but get started. Immediately, as soon as your cutscene ends with Robot, you might notice Robot leaving is a good visual cue. You just want to run into this building and run out of it, and you get to this cutscene. After a little bit of waiting, this cutscene will eventually end. There it goes. And now you just want to run into this building and then run out of it. Immediately, once you're free to roam around in the most of the Glen area, you want to run down to the forest and super fast travel. If you didn't watch the Barrens area episode, I went into more explanation about super fast traveling, but it's fairly basic. I'm going to actually reload the screen to talk about Calamus here. So Calamus will kind of move to get close to you, but he's a bit different in that he'll actually put more space between him and you. He won't worry too much about walking to the left or to the right. He'll only worry about walking up and down. So even if I'm one tile higher than I am right now, he still would not have moved at all to start the cutscene that I'm in right now. So if you want to play it a little easier, what you can do is you can walk up 2 tiles above him right here, and he'll walk up 1 tile to start talking with you. And that way you can use when he starts walking 1 tile down as a visual cue for the end of the cutscene, and you can start playing again. But I just like to go as fast as possible, which entails going just like 1 or 2 tiles away. So you want to go into the ruins after that cutscene, walk to the gate, go to the ruins. And immediately in the ruins, you want to get rid of the sun because you may have noticed that there's a lot of vines around. And the event that lowers the vines is going to be giving the sun to Maze, who is just over here. You have to mash through some text from Maze once you meet her. It doesn't actually matter where you walk, because if you're on this, you might activate the cutscene a little bit sooner, but then you still have to take an extra step either in this direction or this direction in order to talk to her to give her the sun. If you say no to giving her the sun by accident, just immediately talk to her again until you do manage to actually give it to her, and then leave. One thing, you'll have to remember to get the sun later in the run. I'll talk about when the route does that. That can be something that can be commonly forgot and can kill a run if a runner forgets it. So, make sure you don't forget about that sun being left behind. It can be kind of easy because the sun doesn't actually change any gameplay mechanics, but it does lower the vines that blocked access to here. So the next thing we have to do now is free Alula. Unlike the puzzle in the Barrens with the safe code, this code, this puzzle, the tiles you have to press to open up this door right here, this is not randomized. It is always going to be the same light bulb shape. So I'm going to run through the optimal way to do this puzzle. There we go. So that's what it should look like every single time you do the puzzle. You have a little bit of time to input a direction while moving in a different step. So you can use that to get 1 tile further to the right after hitting this last tile, which can save a little bit of time in cutscene and just walking. But once Alula's free, you mash through her text and then you talk to her. Once she jumps, you have nothing else to mash through. So once she jumps, get ready to run back out. And your next step is going to be walking down to get out of the ruins. We're not quite done with the area yet. We've still got quite a bit. We're not even going to give Alula back yet. We're going to go on a little journey with Alula up here. Kind of doing the same thing with the dormitories earlier. We can get onto the screen sooner, but we do need to go up to talk to the shepherd. Say yes to the shepherd. After that pause, there's 3 text boxes with Alula. Run down here, and we have another puzzle that takes a lot of memorization and button optimization to do quickly, so I'm going to stop talking as I show off the optimal route for this ram puzzle. Alright, so that's what your puzzle, once it's like that light bulb, to free Alula, that's what your puzzle should look like every time. And it gives you the ram wool. You want to equip the ram wool before talking to Magpie the trader, so doing it immediately is usually pretty good. You want to make sure you say yes here, when you're mashing here, take the offer, because otherwise you have to go through a longer cutscene, where you can also get a shirt in your inventory, which I love the shirt, but it's not faster, so try not to do it. But once you have the fabric dye, the bottle of dye, you can go straight to Calamus and talk to him and give Alula back. So you have to be careful in this cutscene, but you have to say yes there. There's a selection box. You want to be careful not to say no. It'll lose about 15-20 seconds if you do, according to the world record holder, who I believe said no in a marathon a few months back where we raced. So you want to make sure to say yes, because it'll send you immediately to their house. And in their house is a key item that you're going to need in order to complete the area. This is one of the reasons why it's only like 15 seconds slower, because you walk really slow in cutscenes, which is kind of something similar, which is why I like to cut out walking in cutscenes, and there's also something similar I did to the mines. If you remember in the mines with Silver back in the Barrens, I talked to the right side of the gate to get Silver to walk less, but that's not important because we now have the feather. So, one thing you want to do, you're almost done with this area, trust me, but the last thing you want to do is go down here. You might remember this from a few minutes ago. We need to get the sun back because the sun is kind of important. So, here's the sun. After it lights back up, you only have like 2 text boxes. And then, as soon as you pick it up, you're just going to want to leave the ruins. The fastest way to get out of the ruins is to go to the left here. But we have one more thing to do before we can finish the area, and that's not just make the pen. What we have to do is fast travel to the gate and walk up into this building to get some sleep. Once again, as soon as this running status disappears, that's when I try and open the game, and it opens very quickly. Mash through the cutscene and text again. You can use, for the sake of dreams, when Nico's talking about the dream, there's a different soundtrack than the area you're in, and there's a tiny change there's a tiny bit of time between the soundtrack changing. I believe it changes at like the last text box of the dream, so if your ears are sharp, you can use the music changing as a cue to start moving. And once you do that, before you walk up to this door, you want to craft the feather pen with the feather and the bottle of dye. And then when you run against the door, it'll do the same thing as talking to this robot. So you have to just run against the door with the pen equipped. And then you can sign the scroll and head on up. At this point, there will be a cutscene with squares. You mash one text box and hurry on out. One thing I recommend not trying to do is I'd recommend trying to not go to different sides of the door, because double doors in this game are weird. And you can walk through the left side of a double door sometimes, and then it'll put you on the right side of the double door. So try and just, for the most part, get into whatever side of the double door is closer to you when you are going into it. So eventually, after running through those doors and those hallways, you're in the refuge, which is the 3rd major area. And this one is probably one of the harder portions of the run. I'll explain some stuff as we go along, because there's a lot to go over. And with that, like last time, because there's a lot to go over, I'm going to save this for a different video. So if you like this one, if it helped you go faster, that's great. And if you'd like to continue learning the full game, watch the next video, which is going to be on the refuge. I'm going to be covering both the sky area, which we're in right now, and the ground area of the refuge in the same part. So it's going to probably be a very big portion. We don't have as much mechanics to explain, probably. So I don't expect it to be longer than that first part, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Thank you for continuing to watch these tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one.